The chicken dance. Science is not a substitute for common sense, but an extension of it. W.V. Quine. If you've ever been to a wedding and seen someone in a dark corner at a table alone, removed some distance from the dance floor, and weeping into their hands while the chicken dance is playing, I will give you some advice. Something has gone wrong. They've had a breakup. Do not, I repeat, do not assume that their apparent emotional turbulence is owing to non-universal perception of the chicken dance. They're not sad because of the chicken dance. There are many different interior reactions to the chicken dance, as many as there are people, and perhaps, you think to yourself, as different as red and green. But don't mention that to them. Don't bring Locke or 17th century philosophy into it at all. It's a mistake. Now, there are no hard rules, but as a rough guideline, the strongest negative reaction to the chicken dance should be modest irritation, which is correct and understandable. As an aside, if you personally hate the chicken dance with the heat of 1,000 suns, I do not wish to alienate you, the viewer. You are most welcome here, my fiery compatriot. Yet, returning to our story, I simply note the usual reaction. Great, it's the chicken dance again. Can I go to one wedding without hearing the chicken dance? No, you can't, but don't worry, because YMCA is up next, assuming you like YMCA. Of course, all of this is informal and in culture thinking, I guess, and defended only by common sense. But simply noting that as far as common sense is concerned, nobody finds the chicken dance particularly sad, or that few people get up on a table to dance techno-frenetically when Moonlight Sonata plays, proves very little in a watertight way. After all, if we have been culturally indoctrinated as Westerners, surely one of the earliest lessons we were taught was that the chicken dance is hilarious. Common sense, then, can't help. We need an improved approach. Perhaps we better ditch common sense altogether. As we must, if we're ever to make any respectable academic progress. Indeed, if we're to make any real progress at all, we need to observe people who have not yet been culturally indoctrinated. This time, let's proceed scientifically. First, take a bunch of babies. Careful, not the kind of babies whose mothers imagined they were curating an Ivy League-ready genius fetus by constantly playing Mozart in utero. It's too late for them. But having selectively removed all the Western-biased, brainwashed babies from the group, we can now proceed with the experiment. As I said earlier, take a bunch of babies and, that's right, simply play the chicken dance to them. Now we just sit back and observe their unindoctrinated responses. Simple. how do we know that they are crying because the chicken dance is sad? Or because they are babies? I guess there's always been an uneasy relationship between common sense and, let's not say science, but to be more general, academic sense, critical rigor. At times, what's intellectually conceivable is hopelessly out of touch with what we obviously know. At other times, what's apparently obvious is arguably insufficiently established. If we want to think through musical perception in a way that's holistically sensible, how can we get what we know in common sense and what we think through more rigorously back on speaking terms? Somehow I thought this would be easier.
This time around, when the war drum sounds, it's not a military snare, but a half-speed breakdown.
What about him? Has he been listening to Mozart? Him? No, he's just unusually intelligent and attractive.